good morning to all of you. Let me just very quickly put on my slide so you can see my slide. All right. Okay, appreciate. I would like to just thank Center for Fudging for organizing this That's for Life conference. And also I want to just appreciate those of you who this may not be your first time to attend such workshop and you have continued to grow as a father and as a husband. I want to salute you. For those of you who are attending the first time, I trust that you get something out of it, and then we continue to be on this path to be a better dad, every day. Just a quick introduction of myself. I am married for 26 years and I have 3 children. They are the eldest, the 2 daughters are already in university, and the last one is in secondary school. And I'm very thankful to have a family that I can go home to after every day's work. So today, as you can see on the slide, what I'm going to share with all of us here, including myself, every time I prepare for a talk, I'm also preparing for myself, which is 2 keys to foster psychological safety at home. And the concept of this psychological safety actually caught lots more attention since the publication of a book by Dr. Amy Edmonton. She is the professor of leadership at Harvard Business School, and the book was published in 1999. And in the book, she mentioned that psychological safety is a belief held by members of a team that it's okay to take risks, to express their ideas and concerns, to speak up with questions, and to admit mistakes, all without fear of negative consequences. So in fact, Google got on board in 2014. Google conducted its Project Aristotle, where the massive organization studied 180 of its own teams for a period of 3 years. And what they found out is that they actually found out psychological safety is the defining characteristic of its most high-performing teams. So now think about it, how we can then apply in our home. If we are able to foster psychological safe home, individuals or children will feel comfortable expressing their thoughts, emotions, and concerns without fear of judgment or rejection. And this foundation of safety strengthens family relationships and fosters a sense of belonging, acceptance, and support. In fact, maybe some of us as adults in our work, sometimes we are also held back because we are fearful of being judged, or we are fearful of being rejected. So it's so important for us when the children grow in our family, how can we foster an environment where they can be free to share their thoughts and then be guided along the way? And what are the benefits of it? When children feel safe to take risks, make mistakes, and learn from them, they develop resilience and adaptability. This helps our children to navigate challenges and setbacks with confidence and bounce back stronger. And the other one is when children are free to explore their passions, pursue their interests, and express their individuality without judgment, they can discover and develop their unique strengths and talents. Right? This fosters a sense of self-esteem, self-efficacy, and personal fulfillment. Right? So I'm going to share with you 2 keys to foster psychological safety at home. But before I share the first key with you, I would like to ask you a question. And later on, you can just type in the chat. It's quite an extreme statement. So I'm going to just create safety here as well. There's no wrong answer, right? When I show the statement, you can either type, if you agree with it, you can type 1. If you disagree, you can type 2. And like I say, both answers are totally fine and it's okay. All right. So the statement is this: all the problems in my marriage are caused by me. All the problems in my marriage are caused by me. There's no wrong answer. So if you think this is true, you can type, if you agree, right? You can type 1. If you disagree, you can type 2. All right. So I'm going to give you a few seconds and just feel free to type in your answer. If you agree, you can type 1. If you don't really agree, you can type 2. Right? I'm talking this statement in general. It does not mean your marriage, all right? So if the position I take on in a marriage, all the problems in my marriage are caused by me. 1 or 2? Very quick one, no wrong answer. Anyone? Okay, good. I can see. All right, so we have ones and we have twos. All right, great. Thank you. Right, you can continue to respond. And like I said, there's no wrong answer. And I want to just highlight that that could be yes or no over here. But today, I want to just say that the direction I'm going to take on for this statement, it is true for this statement. All right. So I'm going to share with you what I meant, and hopefully you're going to agree with me later on, because generally when I show this statement, it's not surprising that most of us cannot agree, because how can I say that all the problems in the marriage are caused by me? But let me use an example to illustrate, okay? So there was once when I came back from work and my wife was cooking in the kitchen. So I asked my wife, I say, dear, what's dinner for tonight? She answered in a very angry tone, okay? And she said this, why are you always concerned about what's for dinner? Can't you see that the children are running around and all you care about is just food, right? So, oops. So in my mind, without saying out, in my mind, I was thinking, did I do anything wrong? Why did she need to scream at me, right? Because I just asked nicely, dear, what's food on the table, right? So did I do anything wrong, right? Strictly speaking, I did not, right? Because I was just asking nicely, what's for dinner? But let me ask another question, right? Which is here, who caused the problem? Well, I think I was the one who started asking the question. So I was the one who started this ball rolling. So maybe I caused the problem, right? Or maybe if I've said, dear, thank you so much for preparing the dinner. Is there anything I can help? Or dear, thank you for cooking the dinner. Let me take care of the children so that they don't run into the kitchen. Now, do you think that if I was able to say it differently, would my wife have responded differently? Yeah, probably better, but there's no guarantee. All right. I can only do my part to increase the chance of my wife responding better. So the statement here, when we talk about all the problems in my marriage are caused by me, it does not mean my fault. Okay. It just means that I refuse to blame my wife by taking the stand and responsibility to first look at myself as the cause of the problem. Right. So the first key I want to highlight here to foster psychological safety at home is this: as a husband, I take the stand to be the cause in the matter. Now, what's the meaning of cause in the matter? Let me just very quickly show you my next slide. This term was actually coined by an author called Werner Erhard. Right. So let me read to you what does it mean by cause in the matter. So he said this: when you have taken the stand that you are cause in the matter of your life, it means that you give up the right to assign cause to the circumstances or to others. That is, you give up the right to be a victim. It simply says you can count on me and I can count on me to look at and deal with life from the perspective of my being caused in a matter. At the same time, taking this stand does not prevent you from holding others responsible. Okay, so going back to my example earlier, after I calm down, I'm more able to take on the stand and go back to my wife and say, dear, perhaps I was not sensitive to your needs yesterday when I came back and asked for food. I probably could have asked what help you needed, or to take care of the children first. Now think about this position, right? According to this statement called I'm taking the stand to be the cause in the matter, means that I look at myself first. And I will go back to my wife, and then hopefully when she felt understood, and then I can share with her how I felt yesterday in terms of our interaction and see how we can deal with it differently the next time. So taking the stand to be the cause in the matter would means this. It does not mean it's all my fault. It just means that I look at myself first, how I can take responsibility first for my part. So when I'm able to take responsibility first, I'm protecting my family atmosphere from injecting blame or judgment into the space, and ensure that the psychological safety it's at home, and my family members can have the freedom to share without fear of being judged or being blamed. And then, of course, as we mentioned, that it is important when we say we are taking the stand is also to share with our spouse about how we felt and then suggestion of how we can deal with it differently the next time. Now, is it easy to practice the first principle? Definitely no, because in order to practice this principle when it's at the heat of the moment, it's very tough. Because our default mode when we feel offended is to blame, is to judge. So in order to practice this principle as a husband to take the responsibility, we need to find ways and means to calm ourselves down first. When we calm down, we are able to, be able to ask ourselves, all right, what is the principle for me to take on to deal with these issues? Because, we can be triggered here and there. It could be in office, but at home, we can be triggered as well by certain words or behavior or action of our spouse. And that's where we come down, we take on this stand that I want to be the cause in the matter. And then I first go to my wife and say, okay, I take responsibility for my part first, right? So to practice principle, not easy. We just have to persevere and then ensure that we are in the best, position, in a calm position to persevere. However, I just want to say that in order for us to practice this principle, to take the stand to be the cause in the matter, it does not apply in two situations, right? First is in a violent situation, right? So whoever is exhibiting violence at home, that person has to take responsibility first, right? And the other one is extramarital affair, right? We can never have reason to allow anyone to have extramarital affair, right? Other than that, in the home, as a husband, to foster psychological safety, that we can practice together as husband is that we take the stand to be the cause in the matter. So that's the first key. Now, what's the second key to foster psychological safety at home is as a father, I learned to become a gardener. So what does it mean to be a gardener? I want to just reference to this book by Alison Gopnik, The Gardener and the Carpenter. So Gopnik says that there are two kinds of parents in modern America. I believe this is also true for Singapore, and which is one is gardener and one is a carpenter. So let's look at the definition of what she meant by these two. So the carpenter thinks that his or her child can be molded. The idea is that if you just do the right things, get the right books, you're going to be able to shape your child into a particular kind of adult, she says. So that's a carpenter, right? And what's a gardener? The gardener, on the other hand, is less concerned about controlling who the child will become, and instead provides a protected space to explore. The style is all about creating a rich, nurturing, but also variable, diverse, dynamic ecosystem. So right now, you can see the definition of the two types of parents. Now, this Gopnik also says this, that she thinks, and in her observation, she thinks that many parents are actually carpenters, but she thinks that these parents should really be cultivating the garden. She spent decades researching children's development and found that parents often focus too much on who their children will be as adults. And she thinks that the harm in this approach is that parents and their offspring may become anxious, tense, or unhappy. Now, so I'm not going to debate here that we should really be gardener and not be carpenter. That's not my point. In fact, I believe that maybe we, as Asian parents, may see it differently because we believe that there should still be a place for us to be carpenter in our parenting journey. For example, we totally believe that our children should spend lesser time on computer games, or they should sleep early, or they should have enough water. So there's a place to be a carpenter. And like I say, my job today is not to say which one is better, but my point today is to emphasize that in order to foster psychological safety at home, it is important for us to grow as a gardener, where children have a voice at home and able to share their thoughts without worry of being judged. And I believe that many of us here, including myself, can grow in this area. While the carpenter is more outcome focused and the gardener is more journey focused, let me share at least two aspects that we fathers can develop ourselves as a gardener to foster psychological safety. First is to balance between these two. I know what is good for you, and I'm curious about why you think this is good for you. Now, like I say, and what Gottlieb, the author, has observed, that maybe many of us and unconsciously actually are taking the left position more. I know what is good for you. I know I eat salt more than you eat rice, and I have more, I've greater more years of life experience. Therefore, I know for you. And of course, like I said beforehand, there's a place for you. However, what we need to be aware and conscious about growing our position is on the right side, where I can sometimes, instead of thinking that I know what's good for you, how can I be curious? Now, I'm also a marriage mentor together with my wife, and I often have this observation about myself, especially when I have conversation with younger couples who can be 30 or 40 years younger than me. And sometimes when I listen to what they said, I actually shake my head inside, right? Because I can't quite agree why they are taking this stand. But at the same time, I'm aware that we are in different worlds. Instead of shaking my head as a carpenter, I remind myself that let's be curious as a gardener by asking questions like, how did both of you come to this conclusion? Knowing your parents are likely to disagree, what would you say to them? What might be the possible outcomes if you take this direction in your marriage, etc.? So if I'm able to be curious, then what I'm doing is that I'm fostering an environment, creating an environment where the couples are able to be open to share. And that's where we can have a dialogue. And when, who knows that maybe the question I ask will help them to grow and reflect more. So recently, my second daughter in university was sharing with me and my wife about the possibility of getting into a serious relationship with another guy. So even though we had some concerns about that guy, we chose to talk to her with our curiosity. And the questions we asked her were this: what tells you that this guy is someone that you can trust? What could be the most important 2 to 3 indicators that would tell you that both of you can progress to the next stage of the relationship? Or what would be the physical boundary that you would set for both of you if you all have decided to be attached to each other? So these are the questions. Instead of telling my concern or my perhaps some perceived concern about that guy, we use curiosity to promote a dialogue and a discussion. So the first aspect of how we can be a gardener as a father is to be curious, because when we are curious, then our children will feel safe to share with us and be able to ask great questions. And if we are able to ask great questions, we may be able to help them to grow and process. And the second aspect to be a gardener is how we can balance between focusing on achievements, which I think is a key concern of many fathers, and we are not saying that we cannot focus on this, but what we also want to learn to stretch ourselves as a father is also to focus on character. Achievements are the fruits, characters are the roots. So I'm going to share a 3-minute clip for us to hear from a young graduate, and you'll have a clearer of what this means. But what the graduate is going to share here is actually between doing and being. So doing is like achievement, being is like character. So let's watch it now. So let me just switch the screen, and then we're going to watch the video. So let me very quickly, okay, share again. All right.
To sing at his graduation last year, so I decided to one-up him and give a speech. He's actually graduating from his master's program next week, and both of us are continuing to grapple with the same question that everyone has been asking us. As I'm sure all of you have been asked the same exact question, what are you going to do? That's a very different question from who are you going to be? What I want us to consider is, what does it mean to be a human being, not a human doing? When I first came to NC State, I had a lot of labels that I was proud of. D1 athlete, softball player, researcher, social work student. If you were to ask me about my identity, I would have listed all of those tangible things. But during my junior year, I suffered a traumatic brain injury from softball. My career-ending concussion meant that softball was now forever over, and I was on the brink of even continuing as a student. I struggled to speak without frequent stuttering, pausing, confusion, and couldn't prove myself through performance of any kind. And I was left with all of the pieces of who I used to be and unsure how to rebuild. So as I recovered for several months, I made a resolution to help rebuild my identity. I decided that in order to heal the way I saw myself, I had to start by the way that I saw and spoke about others. I would start describing people not by their labels, but by three things: their attitude, the way that they treat others, and what makes them uniquely beautiful. Instead of describing my roommate as an engineer, I would first tell you that she is a kind, intelligent, adventurous girl who loves her family deeply. The more I started equating other people's identities towards their internal characteristics, the more I began to build a healthier foundation for myself. Some of us have next steps planned out, and that's amazing, and some of us don't, and that's okay too. Yet we all have the opportunity to decide who we are going to be when we leave this place today. Your roles in life are going to change, whether it's a relationship role, a role in a job, but you are so much more than your role. So you might be going to do work in engineering, but that means you're going to be an intelligent problem solver. You might be going to do social work, but that means you're going to be a compassionate community member. Regardless of what you do, you always have the opportunity to be the person that you've dreamed. When you choose a positive attitude, treat others with genuine kindness, and appreciate your own unique inner beauty. If you embrace those three things, your life will become more rich with seeing the world through a lens beyond the labels that confine us. Graduation isn't just a celebration of passing classes and balancing work. It's about doing all of those things despite the challenges in between. You are resilient, and the things that you do will go beyond your occupation because they start with an internal spark based on who you are. All of you came in wearing several external labels: a graduate, a student, an almost alumni, but we have to look beyond our labels to appreciate who we really are and appreciate others for who they really are. I encourage all of us to think and do and become something uniquely amazing. Thank you.
Okay, so what I'm getting from this talk are this: my child may not excel academically in his studies, but he can be an honest person. My child may not win any award in school, but he can be a compassionate person. My child may not meet all my expectations in his performance, but he can be a caring friend. So let's not only focus on achievements or in performance, but let's also be mindful to affirm our children's inner beauty. So just to recap, to foster psychological safety at home, as a husband, I take the stand to be the cause in the matter, meaning that if there's any issues between me and my wife, I look at myself first. I don't choose to blame, but I take responsibility to adjust myself, and then I invite my wife to adjust together with me. And second key is, as a father, I learn to become a gardener. I learn to be curious. I learn to want to go into the world of my children, and I learn how to have dialogue with him or her. Thank you so much for the time. Eric, I hand back the time to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. And yeah, hi everyone. This is Joshua from Better Dads Malaysia, and also Better Malaysia was founded 5 years ago in 2019. In fact, it is inspired by the mission of Dads for Life, but with the focus on our neighboring nation. Yeah, I'm currently based in Malaysia, and I must honestly say that our journey has been greatly influenced by the impact of Dads for Life. And thank you for the friendship and support you guys have shown over the past 5 years. And I want also, it actually mean a lot to me to be able to speak in this conference. I used to serve in Fei before. That was like, wow, 20 years ago, I think. Yeah, more than 20 years ago. So it's actually very interesting to be able to speak here today. And I'm honored and glad to be part of the conference. And let me share my screen. Hold on. Yeah, I intentionally themed the topic as empowering dad's influence for a discussion. I think, well, because this whole several connotation, I think for those of you who have actively involved in Dads for Life conference or even in the movement, I think we have seen enough the negative impact of dad's absence. So I won't be bombarding you with the diagrams and data about what would it cost for the absentees of dads, and instead, I want to focus on what we can do to address the challenges of our children and young people today. I believe by strengthening the relationship with our children, by empowering fathers' influence, we can help our children to develop resilience. I agree with what Arthur has shared. We might not be able to shield all problems and challenges from our children, but I think by fostering resilience, it's crucial for their progress as well. Okay, let me share a bit of because I think we have enough negative energy every day. Just by waking up, scrolling to the news of social media. We have all the bad news every day. But and I also want to share with you a snapshot. I don't want to bombard you with all the negative because you have taken your time to attend the conference, but just a snapshot of the mental health situation and also the alarming rise in suicide cases in the cities we are familiar with, right? Okay, on this upper top left is actually a report from UK. Young men are 3 times as likely to take their own life as their female peers. Indeed, the numbers of depression and also mental health issue, it's around the same in UK. It also in Malaysia. And also, I think, which is very dear to your heart, Singapore also recorded high cases over 20 years, amongst the 20s, they are very high in suicide cases. Well, not to remind you about Japan and Korea, it seems that Korea has the highest suicide rate for young people around the Asia region. Even Hong Kong recently, there is a spike of suicide case. And indeed, they are very much correlated with mental health crisis and suicide attempts. Yeah. So, and the other part of the world, UK as well, in a lot of Western cities, young people commit suicide because they felt lonely, isolation and loneliness. This is the report from the Malaysia National Health and Mobility Survey released last year, which was so this was last year report. So the survey was actually conducted in 2022. So the survey shed lights on the state of children and adolescents in Malaysia. So it's actually alarming, where you see 1 in 8 has had suicide thoughts, and 1 in 10 had attempted suicide. Indeed, the thoughts, you can see the difference between boys and girls. So girls, the number of girls actually became higher, and 1 in 4 felt depressed. Okay, and very alarming. In fact, the previous report, the year before, actually the depression between boys and girls is actually around the same. If I remember, so boys is 17 point something, and girls are actually 18 over slightly. So the reason one, actually, it has doubled, which is very alarming to a lot of Malaysian parents. And I want you to look at this for adolescents. Peers and parental support adolescents perspective. So 46% of them have kind and helpful friends. They thought their friends can help them. Parents have respect for their privacy, while 81.7, which is quite high. Less than a quarter actually felt that their parents understand their problems and worries. Okay, parents aware of their activities during free time, only 30 over. Indeed, I'm going to show you another slide later. So 2017, which is reports from the previous year, parental bonding, okay, was 42. They felt that their bonding with their parents actually down, okay. So 2017 is actually 42.6%. 2022, indeed, more felt that their bonding time with their parents actually went down even further. And this is surprising. Like what Arthur has shared, that was actually all of us are in the lockdown. We call it MCO in Malaysia. So the fact that when we are stuck at home, not necessarily the bonding between the parents and children actually go higher. So everybody is stuck at home, but it seems that the relationship doesn't go well. I believe we still remember during the pandemic, there is a spike of domestic violence and stuff like that. Okay, well, we can kind of like understand because while when we are stuck at home, although we are trapped within the four walls, but children need to attend class online, parents has to attend meetings online, so everyone is actually very isolated. However, this is also quite concerning. Okay, the mental health issue in Malaysia. Okay, I especially extract the part to talk about mental health. So for young people, the prevalence of feeling lonely actually went up. Okay, compared to the previous year report. Prevalence of the suicide ideation, just to think of it, it's actually also went up. Okay, suicidal plan, actually planning it. Okay, and also attempt to commit suicide also goes up. Okay, prevalence of being depressed also goes up very much higher. Okay, and the protective factors, prevalence of peer support. Okay, well, indeed it goes up. So I think this also this number also tells us something that hopefully it would motivate parents to learn more about their world, especially if your children are in teens years, teenage or young adults. So if they don't go to their parents, they will go to their peers and friends. So it seems that when they have problems, they go to their friends. Prevalence of having parental connectedness. Okay, that's the number it shows just now from the previous graph. It actually went down. So they don't feel the togetherness, or they don't feel like their parents will understand their issues and troubles. Okay, prevalence of having parental bonding also go down. Okay, so well, I think that it is important for us to be aware that we have to do more. Yeah, so Stephen Baskerville once said, virtually every major social pathology has been linked to fatherless children: violent crime, drug, alcohol abuse, truancy, unwed pregnancy, suicide, and psychological disorder. Definitely today we are focusing on these two issues, all correlating more strongly with fatherlessness than with any other single factor. So now we are not blaming fathers, but then it actually telling us that fathers, you have a very much important role to play, rather than merely a provider, right? So just a snapshot of father absence on mental health challenges. Our absentees indeed contributed to some psychological well-being, less resilient, suicidal behavior, social behavioral problem. So indeed, when we see the report of the National Health and Morbidity Report, what we are trying to advocate and to encourage the fathers in Malaysia, and especially today's in the That's for Life conference, we hope to tell fathers that not only your role as a provider is important, but your role as a nurturer and especially picking up, after others as a gardener to nurture our children, it's actually playing a very important role in the well-being of our children. I want to recommend this book. Dr. Kenneth Ginsberg, he's an expert in resilience, award-winning author and a pediatrician. He wrote a book called Building Resilience in Children and Teens, Giving Kids Roots and Wings. So he said that how as a parent, or emphasizing on fathers, we can help actually build resilience in our children. Like what I said earlier, we might not be able to, shield or try to avoid problems and challenges that our children it's going to face, but then we can help them to build resilience. According to Dr. Ginsberg, he said, resilience is the capacity to rise above difficult circumstances, allowing our children to exist in this less than perfect world while moving forward with optimism and confidence. I think that's the best thing we can give our children, right? Yeah, we cannot shield them from all problems, but in order to help them excel, I think to have the skill of resilience, to help them to build resilience, it's the key factor that we indeed can help our children to navigate or even harness whatever resources they could have in order to survive, or indeed to become successful in their life. Dr. Ginsberg especially point out 7 C's for fathers or even parents to help our children to build resilience. First of all, and that is also the message we want to convey. We believe that resilient dads will help build resilient children. And first of all, the first C Dr. Ginsberg is talking about is competence. Okay, yeah, fathers serve as invaluable mentors. Okay, equipping their children with essential life skills, and the skills can help them to navigate and overcome challenging situations with confidence and efficacy, and which is also emphasized and highlighted by Arthur as well. So I think this is what a father can help to build their competency. Secondly, it's confidence. I think there are a lot of research you can find that indeed good relationship with fathers actually give our child or children sense of security. So through the unwavering support from fathers and encouragement, fathers can actually cultivate a deep sense of self-worth, sense of security, and belief. So when we believe our children, they themselves also, have faith and confidence in their abilities. Indeed, we can empower them to become self-motivated individuals, and they are capable of tackling life hurdles head-on. So confidence, this is what we can contribute. Then the third C is actually connection. Close relationship, intimate relationship with fathers. Actually, when fathers establish a nurturing and secure emotional foundation to their children, we actually help them to foster a profound sense of belonging and purpose that empowers them to forge meaningful connection with others. I think that's very important. At least, and that's actually connected to what Arthur had just shared, when they have a safe place they can connect with, not only to build a psychological, safety at home, but also when they have a close relationship, whichever, problem, challenges they encounter, they always know that there is a place called home that they can always turn to. And fourthly, character. With father exemplary behavior and moral guidance, father actually impart invaluable lessons, especially integrity, empathy, and responsibility. It helps actually shaping their children's character and equipping them with moral compass to navigate life complexity with integrity and grace. The fifth, hold on, sorry. Contribution. Okay, indeed, when fathers, especially the volunteers in Dads for Life, or maybe you are heavily involved in NGOs or even your religious institution, indeed, these kind of work will actually help inspire and uplift their children. Actually, it helps nurture within them a sense of purpose, and also encouraging them to make meaningful contribution to their communities and the world at large. So there was actually a research in UK saying that when they actually surveyed both fathers and mothers, when mothers are heavily involved in social work, they take part in religious institution or even community work, their children might or might not be. But when father is heavily contributing to NGOs, religious institution, or even communities, their children are more likely to actually contribute. And indeed, that also not only helping them in terms of character, they also build a strong sense of purpose in contributing to the communities, and also it will help them to be a giving person. Well, the other two part, it's actually very important as well. Coping. I think that's what we intend, or we would like to help to impart to our children, the ability to cope. Okay, yeah. So father influence actually through their unwavering support and understanding, father actually provide a safe space for their children to express and process their emotion. From time to time they will have challenges. If your children are in school years, like my younger daughters, she will always come back and tell me every single bits of the daily routines in school. So actually creating that safe space for them to express their emotion or the challenges, while also in that part, like what Arthur just shared, being curious and so how are you going to cope with that? What did you do? Okay, can you do that or deal with the problem differently? Indeed, we are helping them to process their challenges and also imparting invaluable coping mechanism, and also help them to build an emotional resilience to navigate life's inevitable challenges and crises with strength and resilience. Okay, yeah, last but not least, control. By modeling resilience and perseverance in the face of adversity, fathers teach the children the importance of determination, grit, and resilience, empowering them with the tools and mindset to confront and overcome life's obstacle with courage and conviction. So I think that's not only fathers can help build sense of security to our children. Indeed, how we cope and how we manage our emotion and how we demonstrate when we are dealing with our problem as a father, indeed will help children look at us. Actually they learn, and it will help them to not only build resilience and also having a role model when in future they themselves face some really tough challenges. Indeed, our example will actually help our children to actually have the ability to cope with their problem. Because that works for me. Indeed, my mom passed away when I was only 8. So we lost our mom. My mom was in depression. During those days, nobody knows about depression. So when we talk about mental health, it's very dear to my heart. And my mom actually committed suicide. And how we see our father coping and also not giving up, manage his emotion, and at the same time he need to juggle his work, business, and also the responsibilities of taking care of us, actually mold us in a sense that, I didn't realize until I become a father myself. I didn't realize when I'm actually experience some challenges myself. Then indeed, the role model and the example I saw from my dad actually helped me become resilient. So especially there was a time when the economy crisis hit my family business, how my father overcame and rebuilt the business, or even take the lowest job, to just to provide for family, actually help us a lot. So I would say that, the resilience that we are having in fathers will actually impart and build resilience in our children. So in essence, Dr. Ginsberg actually underscored the profound and multifaceted role fathers play in nurturing resilience in their children, shaping them into resilient, compassionate, and empowered individuals capable of thriving in the ever-changing world. So I hope that, we were able to help fathers to understand that, to build strong relationship with the children, to impart empowering your influence to your children. It will actually shape your children to be a more resilient person. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want
Thank
to
you.
hand my time over to Eric. Thank you.